Pandora's box, and today we're going to talk about the collective dark night of the soul. I was watching a movie on Amazon the other day called Woman Walks Ahead, and it was based on the story of Carolyn Weldon, a female painter from New York City who took the train to Standing Rock Reservation in South Dakota with a desire to paint Sitting Bull. The events around the painting led to the infamous massacre at Wounded Knee. Again, I'm reminded of the savage nature of my ancestors who came here to conquer and to possess without concern for the people or the environment. This is our heritage here in the United States. Our heritage comes from the savageness. Ironically, it was the Native Americans who believed the land belonged to the Great Spirit and could not be possessed. And these are the people who were called savages. There was a scene at the end of the movie where Sitting Bull was captured and shot by the soldiers. And Carolyn Weldon's character was on her knees crying hysterically, and the warriors were dancing the morning dance. I, too, broke down crying hysterically. I joined Carolyn in her deepest grief. I felt it on the deepest level. I felt the cruelty, the complete savageness of my ancestors. And for my ancestors, I had to apologize on the deepest level. I am so sorry, I cried. I'm so sorry. My apology was the deepest, most heartfelt apology that I had within me. It was ho'oponopono at its finest, offering a deep apology for whatever it was within me that brought the atrocities committed by mankind to my attention. I wondered what effect my apology would have on the collective, because it felt that I was truly clearing a deep wound of the collective consciousness of the planet. There were so many of these wounds. We're in a time of the collective dark night of the soul where we're clearing the karma of the collective consciousness. We're cleansing and we're purging. We're releasing the savage beast. As we awaken to higher consciousness, we see the crimes against humanity, and we grieve at the deepest level. Those of us who are energetically sensitive, as Matt Kahn calls it, are really feeling the purge. We're in the midst of this great shift. It's a shift in consciousness that raises us up to a place where we become the new human, living on a new earth. It may sound sensational, but please hear me out. It's always darkest before the dawn, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see the trajectory the evolution of our planet has been on. It's been more of a devolution. We've been heading towards our own destruction, our own extinction. However, help was sent. We were this help. We came here as missionaries to raise the vibration of this planet, to hold a vision of the new transformed earth and cleanse the planet of its disharmonious energies. It may feel as if the disharmonious energies are getting the best of us, but this is shifting now. It is important to turn away from the disharmonious energies and focus on the vision of the transformed earth. Our beliefs have such power to create our reality, and we can either believe we have a one-way ticket to our own demise, or we can envision a much brighter future. I found that there are pockets of disharmonious energy scattered in our lives, and there is disharmonious energies within us that we need to face and to transmute. Have you ever heard the saying, "Peace begins with me"? I believe this wholeheartedly. We can't sit back and wait for some governmental structure still steeped in narcissism to save us and bring peace to this planet. We have to find that peace within ourselves, and the more each one of us finds inner peace, the more peaceful our planet will become. We are part of a whole. We are part of a system, like cells within one body. If you have followed my work, you've probably heard me talk about the transformation from the caterpillar to the butterfly. When the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, it begins to dissolve into a goo of cells. New cells called imaginal cells appear on the scene, and the existing cells called resistant cells try to fight off the new imaginal cells. More and more imaginal cells appear on the scene, and they begin to cluster together. It becomes more and more difficult for the resistant cells to fight off what it perceives to be as the invading cells. And eventually the resistant cells are defeated. Now, the resistant cells represent the cells within the body of humanity that are deeply resistant to change, to transformation. They want things to stay the same. The new imaginal cells are the cells within the body of humanity that are creating the new human. The new human is the butterfly. It is the being who rises above the old perceptions of who we are and begins to live from a higher perspective that is anchored in love, peace, and service to others. In my book, Rebirth, I use the butterfly analogy to explain the dark night of the soul that so many of us have gone through or are going through on a deeply personal level. We enter into this dark night of the soul after a deeply traumatic event and or series of losses that take us out of our current reality. The current reality must collapse in order for the new reality to come in. When we're in that cocoon, in the process of dissolving our former self or former reality, it's not a good time. We experience a lot of fear, pain, grief, loss, and uncertainty. We can feel as if the ground beneath our feet is pulled out from underneath us. When we're in this cocoon reality, we can't go back to the person we once were. There's no going back to that caterpillar. That person is dissolving. And the new transformed self is coming into being. But when we're in the dissolving state, we can't see what is transpiring. We only feel the dying of the old self. We feel a deep loss of self and a lack of desire to participate in life. Without a positive vision or understanding of this deep transformational process, we may feel like giving up. But if one gives up while in the cocoon, it never knows what it is to become the butterfly. I call this deeply transformational process the dark night of the soul, because it is indeed a long process of letting go of the old in order to make room for the new. The intensity of the experience can be so deeply challenging, and without a roadmap, one can simply feel that he or she is dying. One may have the experience of dissolving without the vision of the new self coming into being. This is why I call my book Rebirth. I wanted to show people that they were not simply dying to the old, they were being born to the new. And the vision of their rebirth is what would pull them through. So I encourage that positive vision for your future. Many of you will be able to relate to this deep transformational experience. But this experience isn't just affecting one person or just a few people. We are all in line to pass through the dark night of the soul, just as all caterpillars are in line to pass through the transformational process to become the butterfly. Do all caterpillars become butterflies? Well, no, of course not. In nature, not every sperm cell becomes a human being. Not every fetus makes it to birth. I was reading a study that tells us 400 eggs can be laid by one adult butterfly or moth. Out of those 400 butterfly eggs, only about 8 live to become adult butterflies. Nature kills about 98% before they become adults. All 3 pre-adult stages suffer great losses as they are laid, hatch, grow, pupate, and mature in the chrysalis. These deaths are caused by predators, disease, herbicides, weather, parasites, insecticides, and more. The earth itself is passing through the dark night as she must shed the toxic load she's carrying and cleanse the earth of her impurities if she is to survive. Now, nature has a way of weeding out the weak and allowing the strong to survive. This is what Charles Darwin called the survival of the fittest. But we assume this means physical fitness, how physically strong we are, and how capable we are to adapt to change. Now, this may seem true when we observe nature. The weak are weeded out. In the animal kingdom, it is the weakest of the herd that are taken first by predators. They are the ones who fall behind. Animals in nature have some kind of sixth sense that allows them to accept this reality. This is nature's way. But what if nature herself is changing? What if its selective process, what is referred to as natural selection, begins to select those who live in harmony with nature and weed out those who have a divide and conquer mentality? If you think about this, it is really the only way that Earth can survive. When we have a disease in our body, all of our efforts go to eliminating the virus or the bacteria or the cancer. Whatever we perceive to be the threat to our health is targeted for removal. Our energies and intentions go towards eradicating the invading disease and moving towards health. It's being proven that the more aggressive treatments for cancer, heart disease, Lyme disease, autoimmune disease, and so on are not as effective as when an individual simply returns to nature for healing. One who focuses on removing the toxicity in the body and giving the body whole plant nutrition and healing herbs have a much greater chance for survival. The old paradigm of healing is about poisoning and cutting out the disease. Is that not what we do to our very earth? The old paradigm has not yet learned about natural healing. It has not yet learned about bringing balance to earth. The old paradigm has a very narcissistic relationship with the earth. It takes and it takes and it takes without ever giving back. Well, for those of you who have suffered narcissistic abuse, what happens when someone takes and takes and takes from your precious energy resources and never gives back? You can't survive it. Eventually, something has to give. Either the narcissist uses you to the point of complete depletion and then discards you in favor of a fresh new source of energy, or you realize that you're being depleted in that relationship and you get out. Either way, your only chance for survival is to eliminate the parasitic force from your life. How is the earth any different? It has the same drive that we do to survive. It is a living, breathing being. Scientists have even discovered that Earth herself has a heartbeat. It's called the Schumann resonance. Humanity itself is really the virus on the back of the Earth, and it would really be much simpler for the Earth to just kick us all off. And this has obviously happened in the history of humanity. But what if, instead of kicking us all off the Earth, in her wisdom, recognizes she's in a transformational process to where she is also becoming the butterfly. She's going through her own dark night of the soul and preparing for her rebirth into a new form. The Earth will no longer support the raping and pillaging of her resources and the poisoning of her body. She recognizes the need to rid her body of the parasitic energy that is causing her to be sick and depleted. The new agreement is that we either live in balance and harmony on the Earth or we leave. We either shift or get off the planet. We are currently in the midst of this shift. We are in this collective dark night of the soul, where we both individually and collectively must face our shadow. Our shadow is the aspect of ourselves which have remained hidden. It's the parts of ourselves we've not wanted to look at. The shadow contains our deepest fears, our unacknowledged pain, and the parts of ourselves we have deemed unacceptable. Within that shadow is also our undiluted potential, our greatest dreams, and our deepest spirituality. The shadow of humanity contains both the darkness and the light, because within that darkness are the seeds for the new human. As we bring our attention to these precious seeds, we bring light to them and they sprout from the darkness. The potential of humanity to achieve greatness is within us. It would be a shame if we all just died out and became extinct because we failed to see what we're truly capable of. But this capability has its roots in love, kindness, goodwill, and being good stewards of the earth. Narcissism has had its day, but its reign is coming to an end. There is an energetic weeding out process taking place right now, and even though it may look like business as usual on the outside, on the inside there's a transformational process underway that most people are not aware of. The astrological and psychic worlds are aware of this transformation. As a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, I've observed people under hypnosis speaking about this shift. The awareness of this shift is in our consciousness, and although many people are unaware while in their normal waking state, when in hypnosis, they have access to higher states of awareness. They are able to see clearly a timeline in which we as a species evolve into a higher state of consciousness and create a new reality from this place. People undergoing a quantum healing hypnosis session are referring to two different types of human beings. One type is centered in service to self, and the other is service to others. The service to self camp is that very narcissistic energy that cares nothing for the people and the planet it uses for its own gain. The service to others camp is where people are aware that we are connected, and what we do to others, we in a sense are doing to ourselves. We come here with a mission to help others to heal and to develop awareness. Our missions are anchored in genuinely helping others. Helping others is more important to us than the money we make in our services. We do need to make money to survive in our current paradigm, but we see money as a tool to assist us in our mission rather than as the goal. We're moving away from collecting stuff and focusing purely on material quest and accomplishment, and turning our focus to healing, to minimalism, to simplicity, and working in harmony with each other towards the same end, a healthy and a peaceful planet. We see trends of minimalism, tiny homes, RV living, living off grid, veganism, organic food production, natural healing, and creating conscious community. These are the signs of the changing times. The collective dark night of the soul is the shedding of old skins that no longer serve us. So while you may believe you're all alone in your dark passages, know that you are not. We are all going through this collectively. Now, some people have already undergone a dark night of the soul on a personal level and are here to assist others in their passage. I feel that I'm one of these people, as I've passed through 3 dark nights that I also call initiations of the spirit. Although there is still much mystery as to how this change will unfold, I realize that we are in our transformation to butterfly consciousness, which makes sense of the chaos. There are many falling outs happening in social groups and families as people are separating into the 2 camps of service to self and service to others. The service to self aligned individuals have a dreaded fear of their shadow and cannot look into the mirrors that reflect their shadow to them. Therefore, they attack the mirror and demonize it. Those of us in the service to others camp are learning to walk away from abusive people out of love and respect for ourselves. Loving and respecting yourself is not to be confused with service to self. One must develop self-love in order to find inner peace and to be able to truly love others. What do you imagine will happen when more and more people refuse to tolerate toxic and abusive people? What will happen to the abusers? From a higher perspective, I see the unconscious abusers as the parasitic energies who depend upon a host or hosts in order to survive. Without a host, they cannot survive. Now, survival isn't just a matter of being physically alive and breathing. It's about being fully alive in our bodies, feeling the life force energy pulsing through us, being genuinely and authentically connected to each other, and being in the spirit of both giving and receiving. The parasitic energies are fighting for their survival. But once again, they depend on us, the host, for their very survival. Because they're not connected to themselves or the life force within them, they depend on others to feed them energy. They are energy vampires. If we refuse them our energy, we stop feeding them, and when we stop feeding them, they leave us to find another food source. In this day and age, there's enough information out there circulating for any individual who is suffering to realize the cause of his or her suffering. We are all collectively becoming aware of malignant narcissism, toxic relationships, energy vampires, and the like. If we choose to close our eyes in order to stay in this kind of relationship, we're choosing a soul death because we're existing solely to feed the energy vampire in our life out of a dwindling supply of life force energy. And as we do this, we become more and more depleted until we become zombies. I find it interesting how zombie movies are becoming so popular, especially with the younger generations. This is no accident. It's where we are collectively. Zombies are without life force. They are the walking dead. And the walking dead are at extreme risk of annihilation because they don't have access to their inner guidance or intuition. They're plugged into a matrix of death of the spirit. And death of the spirit is the first step to death of the body. For it is truly the spirit within us that gives life to our body. Without our life force, we are dead. As we move away from the narcissists of our society who do nothing but take, we begin to plug back into life itself and allow ourselves to be fed by this loving, nurturing mother energy offered to us by an evolving planet and the accompanying spirit of life that we call Source or God. In my experience, it is in the dark night of the soul that we come to realize that we are the light. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Nothing outside of ourself is going to rescue us or save us. It's our connection with the Mother Earth and Father Spirit that will bring us back to life and guide us to our place in a new evolving civilization. There are more and more spiritual practitioners at their post right now waiting to help individuals in their healing and their transformation. Many of us realize this is our purpose for being here right now. We are here to assist with the transformation of humanity. You may recognize yourself as one of these healers or light workers. The greater our expansion, the more healers and light workers are needed to help the rest of humanity up to their higher levels of awareness. We don't need to compete with each other. Competition is a thing of the past. Each of us who are doing this healing work have an individual blueprint that will resonate with the people who need exactly what we have to offer. So the right people will always be attracted to us. Know that wherever you are in your own individual process, you are not alone. There are so many people waking up right now and stepping into their missions to assist the world in its transformation. Whether you need help, want to help, or both, there is plenty here for you. One of the dying paradigms is this idea that if people charge for their products and services, that they are somehow not spiritual. This is so far from the truth. The idea that we are entitled to have everything for free is part of the narcissistic paradigm. Energy exchange is important. Taking from the well of life without giving anything in return is not in anyone's best interest. The new paradigm is a balance of giving and receiving. So let's rise up and see the bigger picture. We are not dying, we are being reborn. We're moving into a higher state of awareness and a higher level of functioning. It's a slow process, nevertheless, it's a process. I want to wish for you so much love and healing energy for your journey, wherever you are on this path. You are not alone. We are all in this together. So let's love ourselves and love each other in this divine process of awakening to our true selves. Let love melt away the fear and create a place for you in the new humanity. Thank you so much for being with me today. And if you'd like further information, you can go to narcissismfree.com or pathbacktoself.com. We'll see you next time.